This map shows the rapid expansion of Roman territory across Western Europe during the 1st century BC. The legions swept across Gaul, covering modern-day France and Belgium, swallowing up hundreds of thousands of square miles until they hit a dead stop at the English Channel. Standing at that new coastline was Julius Caesar. Across that churning water lay Britain. To the Romans, this island was a ghost story, shrouded in impenetrable mist and protected by wild ocean currents. Despite mastering land warfare and logistics across millions of square miles, the Roman war machine was completely paralyzed. They were facing a landmass that effectively did not exist in their written records. To figure out what was actually over there, Caesar began interrogating local merchants who sailed the channel. But these initial inquiries yielded almost nothing, just scattered, unreliable rumors about fierce tribes and strange customs. This split screen shows the stark contrast in Roman military intelligence. On the left is the highly detailed tactical plotting used throughout Gaul. On the right is the reality of the British invasion, a massive military operation launched with zero reliable maps, no cultural data, and absolutely no geographic intelligence. Standard military doctrine dictates that you do not launch an amphibious assault into a complete void. But Caesar's overwhelming ambition overrode standard caution, and he ordered his invasion fleets to prepare for launch anyway. Caesar's push into the Channel was a high-stakes blind leap into a fiercely protected prehistoric world. The crossing itself was a logistical nightmare. Thousands of legionaries crammed into transport ships, crashing violently through rough waters toward a completely unknown and deeply hostile shoreline. When the mist finally cleared off the coast of Kent, the Roman legions experienced immediate shock. The shores were not lined with disorganized savages, but a highly disciplined defensive force waiting for them. This is a typical Roman infantry helmet from the era. Heavy bronze plating and restrictive ear guards offered excellent protection on solid ground, but as heavily armored soldiers waded through deep water under relentless fire, this gear quickly became a drowning hazard. While the Roman infantry trudged slowly through the waves, the Britons unleashed their chariots. They raced up and down the beach with terrifying speed and agility, hurling javelins and retreating before the Romans could even plant their feet. It was a brutal, chaotic collision. The rigid Roman military doctrine completely broke down against these lightning-fast, unconventional local tactics. Caesar's massive intelligence gap had become painfully obvious. By ignoring standard reconnaissance, his arrogant decision nearly condemned his entire expeditionary force to total annihilation on the very first day. To understand what the Romans actually walked into, we must look past their biased reports and examine the objective reality uncovered by modern archaeology. This image shows a ceremonial helmet from the period, covered in intricate metalwork and decorative panels. Pieces like this prove the Britons possessed highly advanced metallurgical and artistic craftsmanship, contradicting Roman assumptions of a backward society. This map illustrates Iron Age Britain. Dozens of tribal nodes were linked by vast interconnected trade networks. These established routes allowed disparate tribes to rapidly unify. When the Roman fleet appeared, they consolidated their forces into a massive defensive perimeter along the southern coast. This unified force utilized deep generational knowledge of the local tides, beaches, and marshlands to trap and outmaneuver the invading war machine at every turn. The Roman military machine had initiated a war with a culturally rich, highly evolved society perfectly adapted to defend its homeland. After securing a fragile foothold and facing a brutal coastal storm that wrecked his fleet, Caesar realized his forces could not sustain a long-term campaign in this hostile environment. He ordered a strategic withdrawal back to Gaul. The military operation failed to conquer the island, but it had a permanent consequence. The ancient, prehistoric isolation of the British peoples was shattered. This image shows the stone ruins that would eventually dot the British landscape. It represents the slow, irreversible cultural transitions that began as Roman political influence, wealth, and trade definitively bled into the local society over the following decades. This initial contact established the first consistent diplomatic and trade networks between Britain and the Roman continent. Over the next 100 years, these connections created a social and economic dependency on Rome that made the final conquest in 43 AD far more feasible. The story of this invasion reveals the inherent biases and missing facts within Caesar's self-serving written accounts. To find the truth, we have to weigh his dramatic reports against the undeniable physical evidence buried in the earth. Reconstructing these early chapters requires a constant synthesis of the general's written claims and the physical testimony found in the soil. The epic founding chapters of British history only become clear when we balance the claims of conquering generals with the silent, enduring evidence of the prehistoric life they tried to claim.